For those that don't know, Bulbmin are a type of recruitable Pikmin only found in Pikmin 2. They are exclusive to caves, and they're led by a large leader and several followers. If the player is able to take down the leader with their other Pikmin, the remaining Bulbmin will then join their Pikmin army. They are a very useful Pikmin type, being resistant to most hazards. But unfortunately, for an unknown reason, they are not able to leave the cave in which they are found, making them unable to be taken back up to the surface. If you know me, then you know I love creating new Pikmin types, and the last time I did, I had an idea that hasn't been explored much in the Pikmin world. That is, the potential for new Bulbmin types. In my last video on the topic, I created a new type of Bulbmin, the Whip-Tongue Bulbmin, which you can clearly see is based on the Whip-Tongue Bulborb that already exists in the Pikmin series. I suggested that this new Bulbmin type would help navigate certain caves, notably caves that feature vines which the Whip-Tongue Bulbmin can grasp with their tongues and be used as a swing to allow the captains and Pikmin to cross wide gaps. They also do high damage, since they can slap enemies with their tongues as well as their leaves. During the creative process for the Whip-Tongue, ideas for different types of Bulbmin started flooding into my head, most of these based on other Bulborbs in the Pikmin world. Thus, the idea for this video was born. Today, we'll be talking about many of those new Bulbmin types, and make sure you stick around all the way to the end of the video, because we're not just covering your run-of-the-mill Bulborbs for these new Bulbmin types, we're expanding out into the entire Grub Dog family. With that, let's begin with my first set of new Bulbmin types, and that's the Frosty and Fiery Bulbmin. The first of this pair of elemental Bulbmin is the Frosty Bulbmin. Obviously, this Bulbmin type will be only found in underground caves with an Arctic biome. They need to maintain a low body temperature due to the ice crystals on their backs, and because of this, they'll have similar freezing properties to the Ice Pikmin. They'll also be able to freeze enemies, destroy hydro jellies, and take down ice walls, giving them essentially the utility of Ice Pikmin, but they can be found in caves that might not allow Ice Pikmin to enter. However, the Frosty Bulbmin go beyond just being a simple Ice Pikmin clone. They have a key difference, and that's how they behave when thrown into a body of water. Instead of freezing a whole entire body of water like a group of Ice Pikmin would do, the Frosty Bulbmin take advantage of the extreme cold air surrounding their bodies. This allows one Frosty Bulbmin to instantly freeze the surface of the water in a small area around them. This makes it so they can walk across the surface of water, since the extreme cold surrounding their feet will freeze the water just enough to become a foothold. And when thrown, one Frosty Bulbmin will instantly freeze the area around them, creating a small ice platform for as long as they are idle. Picture this. The captain is swimming in a massive body of water riding on Ochi, and they are commanding a group of Frosty Bulbmin walking on the surface of the water behind them. When thrown by the captain, they'll create ice platforms for Ochi to hop across. This will create surface area on the water for Ochi to hop instead of swim, increasing traversal speed across large bodies of water. I could see these makeshift ice platforms being used to more easily navigate a new cave that contains a massive underground Arctic sea. And this is exactly it, the key to how my new Bulbmin types are going to work. I believe to really understand the new Bulbmin type ideas, you have to slightly change how you think about traditional Pikmin gameplay. One way for the new Bulbmin to not be redundant is to view them a bit differently from a regular Pikmin type. Remember, Bulbmin by their very nature are only found in caves. This will allow them to have a more streamlined application that doesn't necessarily need to work within the wider context of an entire Pikmin game. Rather, their abilities should work in tandem with the area in which they are found, meaning cave-exclusive Bulbmin could instead have abilities tailor-made to the level design of the caves in which they are found. Frosty Bulbmin will be an extremely useful traversal and puzzle-solving tool, but only in caves with large bodies of water. If a cave isn't designed with water in it, then you probably wouldn't find Frosty Bulbmin there. And that's okay because they wouldn't be any more useful than your typical ice Pikmin in that case anyways. With Bulbmin being naturally separated from the rest of the Pikmin types due to their cave exclusivity, kind of like how the glow Pikmin are siloed off because they're exclusive to night mode, they will allow for various new puzzles and types of gameplay not typically found in the Pikmin series. In my last new Pikmin types video, I compared this concept to a classic Zelda dungeon item. Say you find a new item in a dungeon like the hookshot. In that case, once you find the dungeon item, the rest of that dungeon's puzzles are designed with the player having the hookshot in mind. These new Bulbmin types will be the same. Once you find and recruit them, the rest of the cave's floors will be designed with their special abilities in mind. Moving on, my next new Bulbmin type, the Fiery Bulbmin, follows this same way of thinking. Of course, this Bulbmin type is based on the Fiery Bulblax enemy, and the key feature of the Fiery Bulbmin will be the flames that they produce from their bodies. These are pretty much the polar opposite of the Frosty Bulbmin, as Fiery Bulbmin maintain a flame at all times. This makes them another fantastic way to help solve environmental puzzles. They can easily pass flame-based obstacles in the place of a red Pikmin, face off against flame-based enemies, melt the ice around any encased objects, or take down any ice-based barriers you might find underground. Their flames will also be a constant light source for any particularly dark cave floors. For example, I can imagine some pitch-dark cave floors in which your goal is to find and recruit more and more Fiery Bulbmin. Each one you find makes your visibility in the dark cavern better and better. Of course, this isn't the end of their utility either. Remember the fire starters in Pikmin 4? Fiery Bulbmin could essentially replace them in certain caves. Instead, we could use this new Fiery Bulbmin type to solve more complex fire-based puzzles than the ones we got in Pikmin 4. Their flames could be used to do the things we relied on the fire starters for, like burning up dried plant obstacles and using them to light bonfire altars to warm up a room that might be full of cold air that would otherwise freeze up your army of Pikmin. New Bulbmin type number 3 is one based off a longtime Pikmin enemy, the Spotty Bulbbear, and conveniently, I'm calling this one the Bearmin. In the Pikmin series, the Spotty Bulbbear are known for their aggressive nature and tendency to restlessly patrol an area. In Pikmin 2, they never sleep, constantly leading an army on patrol, and beelining toward any Pikmin and captain who cross their sights. Anyone who's played through that game's Glutton's Kitchen will know exactly what I'm talking about. While Bulbbears are annoying to plan against, as a recruitable Bearman, we can use this signature trait to our advantage. When the leader Bearman is defeated, you'll be able to recruit and use the soldier Bearman as AI guards to patrol an area for you. When you throw this Bulbmin type idle, they will have an easily visible radius around them which serves as the area they are guarding. If any enemy enters a Bearman's patrol radius, they will automatically attack, helping protect an area from most intruders. Just one Bearman will have a very small protective radius, but depending on how many Bearman you set on patrol, the larger the protective radius will be, and the larger the enemies you'll be able to protect against. Bearman will be very effective as a distraction tool against enemies who exhibit the very same territorial tendencies as they do. Take this as an example scenario. There's a tough enemy patrolling part of a narrow hallway on a cave floor, and you're trying to collect a treasure that's guarded by that dangerous enemy. But maybe the enemy is invincible like the Water Wraith, or it would simply be too risky to face that enemy head on. In this case, you can use the top-down detachable camera found in Pikmin 4 to watch that enemy's patrol route. Then set a group of Bearmen to stand guard along its path. When the enemy reaches them, the Bearmen will hopefully put up a decent fight, providing a good enough distraction for you to take the rest of your Pikmin and stealthily collect that treasure unharmed. But that aside, like most good Pikmin type ideas, this won't be their only utility. I think in a future Pikmin game, we could see cave floors evolve to feature certain floors that are far too infested with enemies to properly explore. In these rare cases, the cave floor then becomes a survival mission, in which the captain and crew are required to protect the ship area by taking down waves of enemies from all sides. If that sounds familiar to you, then you're right. With this idea, I'm taking heavy inspiration from the night mode in Pikmin 4. In these cases, Bearmin would take on the role of glow Pikmin, being the recruitable species you find all over the floor. The more you risk it and venture away from the base you're protecting, the more Bearmin you can then recruit, which you can set to help Ochi protect more sides of the base. You would do this until all the enemies are defeated and you can move past the floor safely. It won't be exactly the same as Pikmin 4's night mode, as you'll only have one base to protect instead of multiple luminals, and it won't be about collecting glow pellets. Rather, it will be about finding the hidden Bearmin to help bolster your defenses. Adding cave floors with completely different gameplay styles, like in this case, could be a great way to evolve and expand cave concepts in a future Pikmin game. And a recruitable Bulbmin type like the Bearmin could be a great tool to help in that regard. To close out this series of ideas, I want to talk about two new Bulbmin types inspired by some well-known bosses in the Pikmin series, both of which belonging to the Grub Dog family, because no one said that new Bulbmin can only be based off of regular Bulborbs. The first of the two has an extremely cool sounding name, the Emperor Bulbmin, of course inspired by the Emperor Bulblax, best known as the final boss of Pikmin 1. These Bulbmin would of course retain all the visual features of your typical Emperor Bulblax, but obviously they would be quite a bit smaller in size. Like all other Bulbmin types, you'll need to defeat the adult Emperor Bulbmin leader in order to gain control of the underlings. But with this Bulbmin coming from the Bulblax family, I think it would be pretty cool if you had to defeat the leader in a special way. Inspired by the first Pikmin's final boss fight, that could be by making him swallow bomb rocks. Defeating a Bulbmin leader in a more interesting and challenging way than just throwing Pikmin at it would make for a great mini-boss of the cave floor, and would make the eventual recruitment of the Bulbmin it's commanding all the more rewarding. Once under your control, the special trait of the Emperor Bulbmin would be this Pikmin boss's signature high jump and thud. The Bulbmin would retain the bulky bodies and high jumping ability of the Bulblax, which could be extremely useful in certain scenarios. When thrown, the Emperor Bulbmin will fly in a high looping arc. The added height combined with their heavy weight will result in a resounding thud that will slightly stun any enemies in the immediate vicinity. Think just like how the purple Pikmin works in Pikmin 2. Actually, one way to think of the Emperor Bulbmin is like the Bulbmin equivalent of purple Pikmin, and they could potentially take over the utility of purple Pikmin in caves that might not allow purples to enter. Similar to purples, they would also have a weight and carrying strength of 10 regular Pikmin, allowing for some weight-related puzzles on these cave floors. Maybe there's a breakable floor that will collapse at a certain weight limit. The Emperor Bulbmin's added weight would certainly help with that and allow the captain and Pikmin to explore the areas hidden beneath. Their weight and ability to stun would also make them extremely useful in combat, and their high arcing throw, which would be slightly higher than even a yellow Pikmin's throw, would be very useful to reach high up objects in caves. A good way to think of the Emperor Bulbmin? A combination of the best aspects of both purple and yellow Pikmin. And for the last new Pikmin type of the video, I want to introduce its natural counterpart, the Empress Bulbmin, derived from the infamous Empress Bulblax boss introduced in Pikmin 2. Right away, you'll notice the Empress Bulbmin having the most unique body shape out of any Bulbmin type so far. This unique body shape is exactly what gives the Empress Bulbmin its signature ability. Just like the Emperor Bulblax, the main utility of this new Bulbmin type revolves around how it's thrown by the captain. This is a skill shot Pikmin. When throwing the Empress Bulbmin, you can hold down the throw button to instead have them begin charging their roll. similar to how Ochi will charge in place with his charge move. Simply hold the button and one Empress Bulbmin will jump on its side and begin rolling fast in place. The captain will be able to aim an arrow cursor and they'll shoot off in that direction at high speed when the button is released. This high speed roll will have a multitude of use cases. It can be used to hit faraway switches in caves, make them able to cross large gaps by rolling over ramps and catching some air, safely clearing out small low health enemies from afar with one-hit skill shots, and even knocking down treasures that might be balancing on a ledge, similar to how the impact from Ochi's charge was used to knock things down in Pikmin 4. The Empress Bulbmin would allow for a solo captain to have this ability without the need for Ochi around, and if the next Pikmin game, for some sad reason, doesn't have Ochi, the high-speed roll of the Empress Bulbmin would be a good way to keep a similar type of mechanic around. Call on the Empress Bulbmin if you need to hit something with force from afar, like knocking down an object that could fall and then become a bridge across the gap for the captain and Pikmin, or maybe charging them up and rolling them into some loop-shaped machine that could then generate an electric charge which opens up a mechanical gate. There are a lot of level design and puzzle applications of a high-speed rolling skill shot like this in the Pikmin series, especially when they're one-offs on particular floors of a cavern. And just like a lot of the new Bulbmin type ideas listed in this video, something like this could be used to craft special, more intricately designed caves that bring with them new gameplay styles for the future of the Pikmin series. And since I'm ending there, you might be wondering, these aren't all the Bulborb types, so what about the others? And well, frankly, they didn't have strong enough characteristics to make a useful Bulbmin out of, at least for version 1 of this video. Original abilities could be given to these Bulbmin, sure, but in that case, they would differ heavily from the original Bulborbs from which they were inspired. For these, I wanted to create the most intuitive Bulbmin possible, that used key characteristics from each Bulborb type and integrated those into each of their kits. If we did get a future Pikmin game that focused more on new Bulbmin types, then I could certainly see the other Bulbmin types becoming available too, even if the difference was simply aesthetic. For example, in addition to the original Bulbmin we know and love from Pikmin 2, we could also see them colored as orange Bulbmin in more dangerous caves, or hairy Bulbmin alongside the Frosty Bulbmin in some of the more frigid underground environments. I'm coming away from creating these new Bulbmin types with the sense that there's a ton of potential to use the Bulbmin's cave exclusivity to their advantage, creating some truly unique caves. I've highlighted some of the ideas I've had for Bulbmin types and their use cases inside of the areas in which they're found, but I'd like to hear your Bulbmin ideas in the comments down below. One of my favorite parts of creating new Pikmin types is reading and discussing ideas in the comments, so please feel free to share your ideas. The more creative, the better. With Pikmin 4 having just recently arrived, it feels pretty surreal to be creating Pikmin speculation videos about the future of the series beyond. As of now, I've done everything that you can possibly do in Pikmin 4, and this is the first video I've done post-release. I've sat on the game for a while, but I plan on making a lot more videos about it, including a full review and many more Pikmin idea videos, so stay tuned for that. If you like this, then consider subscribing to the channel and feel free to check out some of my other new Pikmin type idea videos. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.